rather than amazing this morning. My bit is probably a bit of a recap on what you probably already know, but I felt it's important to go through. And I think Mrs. Wellington has chosen a bit more exciting. I think that would be fair to say, don't you, Mrs. Wellington?
Interesting, yes.
Interesting and exciting.
And exciting.
In equal measure, perhaps. So, we'll go through a few slides and then we will have some questions at the end. So if you've got any questions, we'll be coming around. We should be joined by Ms. Silk and Ms. Locker as well, who aren't here yet, but they're probably just So, this is the end of our workshop this morning. We'll give you a bit more information about how homework is done and what it looks like at JB. And also, this is the exciting bit, the new home learning library that Mrs. Wellington is introducing at the moment. So, I'm told, before I joined, that you had the opportunity to come along and talk about home learning and homework and how that was at home. I've got my own personal experience with my children. I've got one daughter who will always do her homework no problem, and my son who sometimes needs threatening with the Xbox being taken away before he'll sit down and do it. So we recognise that there are different approaches from children and different feelings about homework. There's also an awful lot of research about the impact of homework. And so what happened was, and I'm right saying this for you, Mr. Hellier, loads of research, took opinions from parents, and that helped us rewrite our homework. Correct? So I've seen a lot of you as well at our back to school night, so I know a lot of the information about homework and what that will look like for you in your different year groups was also shared at those evenings as well. So we're going to go over that quickly. And our focus is about that learning at home. Not homework as a chore, it's about home learning. It's a subtle difference. So the purpose of homework. The most important thing is develop an extensive vocabulary. So time to talk. I know from the schools I came from in the UK, we had to encourage parents to have meals with their children, talk to their children, not put them in front of the TV. That's when a lot of learning goes on. Lots of time to talk about their day and reflect on what's happened. Really important part of the day. Sharing those interests. So I've made sure that my son's interested in rugby union, so I've got somebody to talk to about it. Really important skills, mental maths, spelling, reading. These are threads that are going to run through this morning. And leading into key stage 3 is those development of independence and organisational skills. So as the children get older, getting them to remember to do their homework, not you having to poke them and prod them. I'm still working on that, my son's 14, he's getting better. We'll get through it. Those studies, the things that we've included in our homework policy are things that have an impact on attainment. And I've mentioned them already. They are the development of those mental math skills, organisational skills, spelling, reading, key to everything. So what we're trying to do is give you a more personalised programme of things that will help your children. Not just a generic worksheet that comes home that the children don't understand and you end up falling out about. As you can tell, I'm talking from personal experience. So, I think a lot of this was covered when you came to the back to school night, but we thought it was important to quickly go through these again. Reading is so important. It's access to all areas of the curriculum. The most vital thing that we can say is read with your children and get them to read to you. But it should be about enjoying those books, finding books that they enjoy. So I know my daughter wouldn't read until we discovered Harry Potter together, and then she wouldn't put the book down. Talk homework, having that time to discuss and extend vocabulary is a key part of that, and those number activities. So when the children are younger, it's short bursts. So climbing up and down the stairs, counting the stairs as you go up, counting the lifts, the floors of the lifts, counting out sweets, helping with money when you go to the shop, all of those things, those friendly number activities that help. As we go into year 2, spelling becomes a bit more important. Early years in year 1 is about the children having a go and valuing their successes. Number bonds get more key. So by number bonds we mean those numbers that go together to make 10, like 2 and 8, 1 and 9, then to 20, then to 50, then 100. And once you get confident in those, moving on to their times tables. Starting with 2, starting with 5, starting with 10s, then get to the more tricky ones. Only way I could get, I'm just sharing this, I don't know if it's interesting at all, but my son, the only way I could do that was when we were in the car together. He was bored, he'd listen. Timetables, brilliant at them now. But it doesn't have to be just through that repetition and practice. Do lots of games and fun things, and there's loads of ways of doing that. Lots of activities online, lots of games. As they go into year 3, 4 and 5, changes a bit. Start to include MFL homework and those citizenship award activities, which I'm looking forward to finding more about. And we will be sharing these slides as well, won't we, Mrs. Wilson? As you go into year 6, in more depth when you're looking at books. So this should be nothing new. These are things I think that have been happening in schools and in this school for a long time. When you're looking at year 6 and you're looking at the reading, it's more about that inference and deduction. Why is the character acting in that way? Finding examples from the text. Spellings again, always important. Maths activity by year 6, the children should be fluent in their times tables. And that inverse operation with the division, they should have that at their fingertips, because that will help them as they go into year 7, and move into algebra and things like that. MFL continues, and the year 6 challenge award. I've heard from Mrs. Bowes that we've had a really good sign-up this year, so I'm looking forward to finding out about more of that. So really, that's just summing up what we do now, and I don't think that's changed particularly from before. How we share that homework? Student diary is the most important thing. Now, if this doesn't happen, and occasionally the systems break down, please speak to your class teacher in the first instance. If it still doesn't happen, then come and see one of us, and hopefully we'll be able to help you get that sorted out. I'll leave you with that. So hopefully you're experiencing some of that already, because I think we're in our 5th week now, and so homework should be established by now. Now, the exciting bit, I think.
So obviously for most of you, that's not looking too different. We've split homework and home learning. This is taken from feedback that we got from parents previously. All our research is that we need to see prescribed homework as something on its own as part of home learning. Home learning being so much bigger than just the school's idea of what your child should be doing at home. Learning encompasses so much more than that. For a child to grow up as a healthy, independent, successful person, they need more than just extension of school at home. They need much, much more than that. And a lot of the research suggests that what happens at home has an even greater impact on success than what happens in school. So we're trying to get that marriage of home learning and school work tighter. And that's the feedback that we've got, and we're really trying to personalise homework so that the homework we give is short and sharp and very concise, and we know exactly what it's doing and how it impacts learning. And then allowing you to have more control and more time to personalise home learning with our support in your home that suits you and your cultures and your interests. And we're trying to get that right. So that's where we've come at this. We've split our policy into 2 parts. Homework that you would be used to, makes sense to you, something prescribed by the school. And it's very clear, it's that sort of thing that needs constant, short and sharp repetition for the child to retain that sort of information. It's talking to you about something that they're going to bring back into school with a lot of vocabulary and some thoughts already. It's that type of work. Whereas the home learning is what we're going to talk about now. So home learning includes everything outside of the school day. Homework being a small part of it, but also ECAs are an opportunity for the children to choose something that they're interested in, that they would like to do outside of the school day. And also family time. Huge amounts of community awareness and responsibilities and things like that come through home learning more than we could ever teach those at school. Okay, so we understand that what you do at home has that enormous impact on school and life in general. So these are some of the things that research is showing us that has a positive impact on learning in your home. Parent-led experiences with their child, so that the child is interested in something a parent is interested in. Now that comes from babies. Babies are copying you from tiny, that the parents are amazing to them, and you have a link from birth. They're already excited by what you do. They copy what you do. They are more motivated if you're doing it. And all the way through primary, it starts to drop off in secondary a little bit, as the child then the hormones come in to try and make them back off from parents. But at this stage in primary, they are learning so much from you, and they are becoming who they will be later on because of you and your interests, and they need time to share that with you. Also, time for them to lead their own play, learn who they are, what they like. What would I do if I was on my own for 5 minutes in the day where I didn't have a structured adult directed task? What would I actually choose to play with? Now that's great for emotional well-being. Children learn to be confident in who they are and their personalities and how to interact with other children. So a lot of time, or some time in the day, where a child can go into their bedroom and create magical worlds with their toys is very, very important, whatever their interests are. Now what you'll see is that children are beginning to mirror your interests a little bit. So if you are very heavily involved in computers and technology, it's very likely your child will play with computers and technology from 2 up. They're already beginning to explore you and your interests through their play. So we really value play, and it will help the child and the brain process all these different things that they're seeing in adults around them, as well as older siblings. So we've got time there for a balance of gender, age and backgrounds. For your child to really understand the world around them, the child needs to spend time with a range of different types of people, of different ages and different cultures, for them to really get what we're trying to say children need to have to make good choices and to be good citizens later on. Now the evidence suggests that a child learns best from a child 2 years older than them. And that's why often in other cultures, so hunter and gatherer type cultures, you've got the children learning from their siblings, and siblings look after them. Because it's very accessible for a child learning to read at 4 to learn how to read from a 6-year-old. That's something they can aspire to do. It's quite intimidating to try and learn to read from an 18-year-old, although it's still better than a 35-year-old. So we try to allow the children those opportunities. If your child is in year 1 at the moment, it's a very good time to reading becomes very interesting to children that age. We've got year 4 buddies coming in and they read together. And it's amazing what it does for the year 4 children on their responsibilities and their skills, confidence that they can read. And the year 1 children want to read to them. They're not afraid to read to the year 4 children. It's really quite exciting. So we want that in your home. A lot of you have siblings. That's a great way for them to spend time together and fight and get over it. How to deal with that. They practice that. They practice conflict resolution with each other. Okay, so that's one of the things. Downtime, relaxation and reflection. When you're resting, your brain is filtering through everything you've learned from the day, and it puts it into the places that you need it to be so that you can retrieve that. If you're overstimulated all the time, your brain will just let things go. It won't store them as well as a well-rested brain. That's the research. We work quite closely with brain-based theories, and we use them a lot, and we research to keep up to date. If a child isn't sleeping well, and a child isn't having time just to do what we want to do when we get home from work and sit, they sort of need that less as children, but they need sleep more, and they need time just to think, just to sit. Some people look at call it mindfulness, but it doesn't have to be a structured program. It could be just time for you to do what you want to do and rest. It doesn't always need to be, let's get them on a bike, let's get them out, let's get them in a club. It can be more restful. So that idea of early bed, early start is quite important for children as they're growing, and as the brain needs to also help them grow in height and emotional intelligence. There's a lot more going on at this stage. Some of the other things that we know about are your routines and your cultures at home. The children need to learn those. That's where they will learn a lot of the organisational and responsibility type skills that we talked about that are important for secondary. They start learning those from very young, where you ask them to lay the table or just take out the rubbish. Those types of things are things that children start to realise, I have a responsibility in my first community being my family, second community being school, But first is at home. If they're struggling with some of those things there, we can't do them here for you and then they will transfer at home. It doesn't work like that. They need to understand the concept of being responsible. And that should be wherever it happens. And the child will understand that better if they realise that if I'm part of a community, I have a role to play. And that's whatever my community is. And that could be that literally I am going to keep an eye on my younger sibling when mum's in the kitchen. That's always my responsibility, and I can do that and I can shout, Mom, when there's something happening. I don't need to fix the problem, but I have a small responsibility to be the older sibling. And they start to learn that, and that will carry on with them. And that's something there that also if you want to go to worship, you need time for that. You need to do that as a family. Those sorts of cultural routines are very, very important. And we want to make sure that we are not impacting on your home and your culture at home so your child knows who they are and where they're coming from by over-prescribing the amount of homework we give you. Because we value this as much. And we don't teach religious education here. We don't have it in school. It's something that we believe is done through every individual family at home, and we have a Dharma practice for legal reasons in school. We have opportunities in clubs for you to choose from, but it's not done as by the teachers. Okay, then we've got over 100 ECAs at the moment each week, from year 1, term 3 up. Your children can choose after school clubs. They can then mix with children from other year groups and again other ages. Some of you would have noticed that your child's coming home saying, there's a year 6 child, I'm a little bit worried about them and I'm in year 3 and they weren't being very nice. Those sorts of things, we then hopefully get the chance to help them sort through those sorts of, how do you feel when an older child has said something to you that you don't feel comfortable with? There are times that you can start to experience those safely. And that's what happens there in those mixed clubs. More the social, but as well, you've got specialists teaching you something of interest. If rollerblading is your thing, the rollerblading instructor actually knows how to do that. So that's the person who's going to best motivate them. We have an average at the moment of 3 clubs per week. We have many children now do 4 or 5 clubs a week. And then after that, at 3:15, we have teams. So some children are here till 4:15, 4:30, another 2 hours every night on top of school. We then have to let them have time for all these other things we're talking about. And in the wider community, going to the shops, mixing with people around you, going to the theatre, going to the cinema, going to the zoo, going to the park, looking at the wildlife animals around you. All of those things are used, knowing your community, knowing where they live, knowing who's in it, how they behave, why they behave that way. Starting to ask you questions about what's going on around them. And then reading and conversation. And this, although this is on our prescribed homework because we value it so highly at this age particularly, it's also something that you could do outside of being told to do it. I imagine everybody in this room with their 6-month-old baby was doing it then, and that certainly wasn't prescribed homework. It's because you value that interaction that stories and books give you, and the understanding of the world, the vocabulary. There's so many skills within reading, so many, and for this age, reading has got to be the #1 access to the world within an academic point of view, but also that interaction with parent and child. It's quite lovely. You know, I read to my child in bed every night. It's a wonderful experience between the two of us. It's always positive. It's not a fight to get your child to come and sit with you and read a book at the end of the night, like other homework could be. So that's a wonderful thing, and it's because they value it too at this age. They value that time with you. So, something that we're doing to try and open this home learning world and really bring it to life is that we want to open a home learning library. And the idea of that is that we've got all our head of subject teams within primary, looking at all the skills in the curriculum and providing little packs for you to choose to take home. So the idea is that a parent might come along to the home learning library and have a look at what is it that they are particularly interested, or that they think their child will be particularly interested in, and take it off the rack. It will include things in there like recipes, with the ingredients to make the recipes. It will have certain games, like it might have snakes and ladders, or we might put little Uno packs in there, and a range of, we've got hundreds of games, so a range of games, and then the head of subject teams have put on there what's a little card that explains the learning opportunities that are in there and how to do it, other links, who you can contact if you have more questions, and things like that. So it might be that we've got art. The art teacher has looked at some creative activities for you to pick and how to make your own Play-Doh and then things they might make with it. So the flour will be in there, the salt will be in there, and you children can measure out the ingredients themselves, and you can do that together. Because what we've got there is we have a parent we know is willing to do that with their child, and a child who will be motivated by the parent willing to do it. And that's what we're trying to develop, because if we're giving you something and we don't know what's happening in your home time at that point, we may end up with a parent who hasn't got the time to do that, or they don't understand what we've given them, and a child then who will be not motivated to do it. So that's not a positive relationship, and doesn't give a positive attitude towards learning. So that's the idea. This will start after the half-term holiday, and we'll open it in the deli for the first week every day, so that you can all see it, you can all walk by and just have a look at what's going on, and either myself, Miss Silk, or Miss Locker will be around as much as we can to give you some input and some help on how you can best ask questions when you're working with things, or how, if a child seems reluctant, what you might do. So that's the what, where, when, and who can go. From preschool all the way up, you can select activities that suit you. As we move forward with this, as we start getting good feedback from you, and we adapt it so that it's more suitable for you and it's working, we will then open this hopefully for children to start coming down and choosing their favourite activity from the home learning library, so that they can go and play games with their siblings, or they could say, oh, I think my mum would love this, or I think my helper would really enjoy playing this with me, and then they could take those themselves. They get scanned out. You have your little scanner just like in the library, so that you can take it home and keep it and bring it back again, pop it back on. So please do give us your thoughts and opinions once this is open. We're really trying to make this work for you. This is something new this year, that we're trying to really show how much we value home learning as being much bigger than we could ever dream of giving you on a piece of paper at a worksheet. It's bigger than that. This is one of our ideas so far. And also, we're starting a parent learning and teaching research group in January. I've had 3 or 4 parents already come to see me that are interested in that sort of theory behind education. They're interested in the research, and they would maybe like to carry out a research project for us, where we're looking at how does home learning affect school, and what's happening in the home because of what's happening at school, or because of what you're doing at home. So we would like to join up with the Play Futures group that have academics from around the world, teachers, parents and psychologists and neurologists working together to get as much information about children and how they learn. So we've already got 3 or 4 on this group. If you're interested, please let me, Gemma or Meg know at the end, and we'll pop your name down, and we'll start this group in January, and we'll do a full research project for the world, really. We'll do a full world project. Okay, so we try to help you more with these workshops, as well as being information giving. Sometimes they are more of a learning type workshop for you. So some that are coming up. Year 3, 4 and 5, you saw on the slide there, they do quizzes for their reading. So when they go home, they have little quizzes online that they do from a company called Accelerated Reader. Now next week, our head of English is going to do a workshop for you on how the child will use Accelerated Reader and how you can help them with that. The following week after that, we have one on early reading, how to help your child when they're in early years or year 1, just beginning to read. What can you do to make sure that they have this wonderful experience that will take them through being readers from then on? And then the third one that we have coming up is online safety. How are you sure that when your children are on the devices, and I know that today the children are using devices so much more than you would have ever done when you were small, how can you make that safe for them? So we have another workshop coming up there with our head of learning technologies. So, Tom, myself, Meg, and Gemma are here now to answer any more personal questions you have at the end. But if anybody has any more general questions they'd like to ask that they think other people might be interested in, you're more than welcome to ask them now.
Well, would the kids be able to get their packs themselves?
If that's our plan. Initially, we want to see how it goes with the amount we've got on offer now. And we want to trial it with just the parents to start with, so that we get good feedback from you on how that's going at home before we open it to the 800 children. We do hope to do that. That's our plan.
It was just because a lot of people use rock.
I know, but that's why we're starting small. But by the end of the year, yes. Let's say yes. We hope yes. We just want to try it on the people that know about it, and we'll advertise it for parents, and there'll be less parents initially that are taking it. Then we'll build it up that children can definitely have allocated time to go to the home learning library.
I have another question as well. With the homework, where is that going to be set for access?
Okay, so the homework.
So the teachers,
The teacher will tell you, but it depends on the year group how they're doing it. It will always be in the diary a little note to say it's been set. So year 5 and 6, everything is on Google Classroom. That's where they set. The child is very able to use Google Classroom. We haven't got any problems with our children accessing that, so they could show you. But in the diary, it will say that it's been set, so you can check in your student diary. Well, Google Classroom is already set on what's on it, so they can't go somewhere else on it. Well, only the child's email address, but you can have that. Yes, with their password, you can see it for everything. Yes, you just have to use their password. What we haven't done is set parent ones and child ones the same. Yes. No. That's right. You can see everything they do. Yes.
Miss Sil, say something about it.
Something about the 5-6, suspect about having a diary and issue that they don't have a diary. So some of you might question that. In year 5 and 6, it's all set on Google Classroom, but it's also put into their Google Calendar, but not Google this year. So parents have access to that just with the child's email address and password, which they have to give to you. You have to be able to have access. So if you log in as them onto any device, then you will see their Google Calendar, which says when they have homework set and when it's due in, etc., and reminders, and then you can go on Google Classroom as well and see what it is that's being set. So that's different to
Sorry,
the other
before down, they definitely write it in the diary because I just had the letter sent to me to check before they go. So year 2 is a little bit different. Year 2 I've just read their lesson today that's going into your diary again. It goes into the link book and it says homework has been set, and it will be set once a week, and it will tell you where it's been set. So it will be set on the evidence of learning journey or journals, and then there's a little note that says it's been set this week, please go to your evidence of learning journal, or go to your tapestry journal, or go to your journal. It will tell you where. Yes. It will be a note with a stamp in the link book saying see you later. Yeah, I think it's just you this year. I'll talk to the teachers about Some parents prefer the link book, some parents prefer email, some parents prefer trying to find one, but I will talk to the teachers and recommend that they make sure that that's right. Okay, thank you.
Sharon?
All right,
We can't hear it.
okay, so are there any more that aren't specific to your child that you'd like to ask? Yes. Sorry, if we just listen to a question
How
from...
important is MFL in year 2, 3, 4? They do all the progress of it because they don't get any homework. They don't really know what they're doing. And I see in year 6 and 5, they are asked to, work on it for 10 minutes every day.
From
but
year
nothing
3?
in year 2, 3, 4. So
Not
are
2.
they really making any progress? Because I sometimes ask, I mean, again, this is getting personal, but I don't know if it relates to everybody. But what are they really learning in MFL? Because I have chosen a specific language because I would like him to learn. And if there is some homework that you come home and not specifically homework driven, just like a conversation, like a talk
We do
homework
have
or something.
from year 3, and they're probably just setting up with their new groups at the moment. From year 3, they have MFL reading homework weekly, talk homework weekly, and then from year 5 and 6, written reading as well. So that's why it's talk homework, it's reading, they bring home books, they bring home things like that. So that should be happening, and I'll talk to you one-to-one if that's not happening. But that's what's on the policy, and that's what the teachers in MFL and the head of MFL has set for them to do. So they should be reading in any language, and that can be encouraged in MFL as well, because you're then getting that opportunity to discuss, practice your vocabulary, ask questions, use pictures to help you work out what's in the book, etc. So there is, and also we have clubs after school in every language that we offer in school if you would like more. But as the day finishes at 2, it's too much to put in every day MFL. So we do that. There's also opportunities for outside instructors that we can give you. So there are things you can do, but from year 3 up. This is the first year we've introduced year 3, 4, 5 and 6, yes. So I will talk to you about that.
I just wanted to answer Shah's
Yes.
question. It's happening in your form. We've had NFL homework last week and this week. It's emailed to the child. And actually it's recorded, it's supposed to be recorded in the diary. The child says, I have some homework.
We'll have a look at it.
So
It is-
just get into your child's email from the school. I don't know whether you get it, we won't get the email, but it's written in the on his email, but they are supposed to write down in their homework diary as well that I have found some homework today, and it's been happening.
It's probably year 3 just settling in, so we'll check on that. But yeah, it should be, and I'll see what's going on in the first few weeks. Yes.
Diary, calendar.
Sorry, can I just stop? Okay, everyone, if you'd like to leave, anyone who wants to stay and ask questions, that we can definitely then have more one-to-one conversations. I can see some people have got other things they need to go to. So let's have a chat there. Okay, thank you.